Hi, everybody. This is Uma from Women's March Global. Welcome to our Global Open House and our webinar with our strategic partner, Equality Now. We're really excited for you all to join us and learn more about Women's March Global and also introduce our fantastic partner at Equality Now. I would like to introduce Catherine from Equality Now. And I'm going to give the floor to you, Catherine, so that you can talk more about what Equality Now is doing and go from there. I know I've mixed it up a little bit, but that's where we're going to start. So if you could share on your end.
Hi, so I am from Equality Now, and for those of you who haven't heard of us, we are a human rights organisation campaigning for the rights of women and girls. So we work in a number of areas, including legal equality, so ensuring the removal of discriminatory provisions within laws, also around ending sexual violence, ending sex trafficking and ending harmful practices, which involves things like child marriage and FGM. And we've been working in this field since 1992. So we have lots of very experienced lawyers and campaigners based across the world. We have offices in New York, Nairobi and London, as well as consultants based in the Middle East and in India.
Great, thank you so much. And to share just a little bit about our agenda, today we're going to be talking about the joint actions and campaigns that Women's March Global and Equality Now have worked on together. But I just want to introduce a little bit what we're doing at Women's March Global. We, of course, are the global arm of the Women's March that originated in the United States, but spread across the world because women and allies around the world united together to stand up for women's rights and human rights. And we saw a massive uprising of 6 million people in over 170 cities around the world in January 2017, January 21st. And we've seen this again this year in our anniversary march, and we've continued. And we've run a lot of different campaigns, from Vote Against Hate election campaigns to working with Equality Now on Justice for Noura and our Free Saudi Activist Coalition. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're really lucky to have Equality Now as a strategic partner for Women's March Global. And we are immensely grateful to them because what they bring is their immense amount of legal knowledge and research of what is happening in the countries that we are focused in. So I want to hand it over to Catherine to talk a little bit about the Justice for Noura case and what Equality Now has been doing in regards for this case that has become now very well known internationally, and the campaign that Equality Now is running.
Right, there we go. Hopefully you can all hear me. So Equality Now became involved in Noura's case, where following the Change.org petition that was started by a young woman who heard about Noura's case and decided that she wanted to do something about it. And we got involved. So Noura was found guilty of murder, premeditated murder in May, following the death of her husband. So she was forced to marry this man when she was 16, and she had fled the marriage. And then she was tricked into returning to her husband by family members, and she was raped by this man, and then there was he died following a struggle which involved a knife. So there was a very high profile campaign on change.org which called for, because she was facing the death penalty, called for that to be stopped. And we heard later that that was successful and she was no longer facing the death penalty. So the verdict of murder was quashed, and she was given a 5-year jail sentence and a fine for manslaughter. And then we continued to be involved in her case as she appealed for so she launched an appeal for her freedom on the 12th of July this year. And we were sort of supporting that and calling on our supporters to help kind of support that. But recently, the state prosecutor has filed a petition for the death penalty to be reinstated in her case. And also she has retracted her appeal. So we continue to be working on this case, and we're calling on our supporters to contact the Sudanese authorities and ensure that the death penalty is not reinstated, and that she's kind of given full access to justice. So that's a bit of background on the case.
Thank you, Catherine, for that background. I want to just go over a couple of points that I think are really important in this case that Equality Now has highlighted in regards to, number one, forced marriage, and the fact that Noura was forced into this marriage when she was very young, and that she didn't want to get married, but then also the fact that she was raped, and correct me if I'm wrong here, repeatedly, and it was in this act of self-defense that she ended up killing her husband. The work that you are doing, that Equality Now is doing in terms of working with local local civil society representatives and also activists, can you speak a little bit more about that? Because it's not, you're not just doing this from a very international level, you're actually working with representatives on the ground. Yes, so that's the way that we work at Equality Now, and we find it's very important to work with partners at a local level, because those are the people with the knowledge and expertise in terms of the local context. And then what we are able to add to that is bringing those issues to an international level, and sort of referencing and using those international mechanisms. So that's the way that we've been working with partners, and the way that we would work with partners across all cases like that. Great, thank you. So I just want to talk about a little bit, when we heard about the Justice for Noura case from Equality Now, at that moment, the petition had under 1 million signatures. And so the work that Women's March Global did in the Justice for Noura campaign was to advocate to get more signatures onto the petition. And so using Thunderclap, and we have a great community of international resistance people that are incredibly active on social media, that participate in tweet storms. And I can see that one of our best, Peter from Milan, is watching, and he has led, I think, every single Twitter storm that we've ever done. So thank you for that, Peter. And so we were able to use Thunderclap, we were able to use Twitter to really push and create a lot of noise on social media to get more signatures onto the petition. And so we're still working with Equality Now in understanding how we can be supportive in their efforts. They are really the ones, along with local representatives, that are advocating and continue to advocate for Noura's release. As Catherine has said, and correct me if I misspeak here, Catherine, but the death penalty is now being reinstated once again, correct?
It has been, there is a petition that has been filed for the death penalty to be reinstated. So the state prosecutor has filed that petition.
If you would like, for those of you who are watching and are on this webinar, if you would like to find out more information about Justice for Noura and the work that Equality Now is doing, please look at the links that we've posted up on the Facebook Live video, and then we will also post them up on the webinar chat, and can also email them to you if you are interested. I would like to move now to the work that Equality Now is doing in regards to Saudi Arabia and the women human rights defenders that have been arrested. And just to give a little bit of background here, in May, about 11 women's rights activists were arrested in Saudi Arabia for the government called it an act of treason, and for participating or for working with external agencies. And so these are women's rights activists that also campaigned very heavily to lift the driving ban in Saudi Arabia. The driving ban was lifted June 24th. These activists were arrested in May, and it has been over 100 days that they are in detention, and they still have not been released, and the Saudi government still has not spoken of releasing these activists. So Catherine, I would love for you to give a little bit of background as to what Equality Now is doing on this case.
Sorry, just checking I'm not muted. Equality Now has been, we sort of worked for a long time on campaigning for lifting the driving ban. That was part of one of our legal equality campaigns, as is ending the sort of wider male guardianship system within Saudi Arabia. And so we were obviously concerned about the and remain concerned about the arrest of these and the continuing arrest of women's rights activists and human rights activists within Saudi Arabia. So we worked with Global Women's March around contacting, as I was sort of mentioning, the international mechanisms. So together with you guys, we worked to write to and to deliver the signatures that you collected on the Change.org petition to relevant UN mechanisms, as well as making sure that the relevant embassies and international actors were aware and taking action on this. And we continue to work with groups like Women Human Rights Defenders MENA on letters, on actions around not only contacting the Saudi government directly, but around contacting those people who have sort of international responsibilities to make sure that these sort of like women's fundamental rights under international law are being adhered to. And so we continue to be working on that and to be working with you on that.
Great, thank you very much, Catherine. And this situation in Saudi Arabia has has grown more dire as every single day we're learning of new arrests by the Saudi government for any human rights defenders and women rights activists that have spoken out, whether it's on social media or in other ways. And so it's really important that the public at a large knows about the situation in Saudi Arabia. If you are on our Facebook Live right now, you can visit the links that are being posted there to follow up and learn more about what we are doing. We have an active petition on change.org that has over 233,000 signatures. We're trying to get this petition to 500,000. The petition has been delivered by Equality Now and Women's March Global and other human rights groups to CEDAW, to the United Nations, to Saudi representatives, and we will continue sending letters and advocating for the activists that have been arrested and those who continue to be arrested. And so definitely this is not a campaign that has ended. This is a very active campaign, and we will continue to work with Equality Now in the pursuit of freedom for these activists. Catherine, did you want to add here just what Equality Now's forward steps are in regards to this particular campaign?
I was actually also going to add something that I forgot to add before, which is that when we re-sent those letters and re-referenced those things and contacted more UN special rapporteurs when there was the news around human rights defenders potentially facing the death penalty, which is obviously a very worrying step. So we continue to be speaking out against that, and we'll continue to kind of stand with people. In terms of moving forward, we're continuing to work with partners, as I said, like women with Global Women's March, like Women Human Rights Defenders, MENA, and other groups within the region as well as internationally, and we're looking at other avenues to be able to work on this further. And once we have those things, then we'll definitely be sharing them all with you, because it's very important that we kind of all get behind this and all speak with one voice on this.
I think that's a really great point, Catherine, that especially in cases like this and Justice for Noura, that the international community comes together and really unites behind these, these actions. It is very clear, and we've spoken about this internally, that the Saudi government isn't responsive to what individual organizations are doing. And there are a lot of organizations that are doing great work in regards to this specific campaign. But definitely stay tuned for more news from Women's March Global and Equality Now in regards specifically to the Saudi campaign. To follow the work of Equality Now, please visit the link that's in our Facebook Live chat, and we will also post it up on social media. But I want to give a really big thank you to Catherine Payne from Equality Now for joining us and for being an absolutely fantastic strategic partner to Women's March Global. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
So with that, our webinar with Equality Now has come to a close. I want to just quickly add that this is a week of webinars that we are running for our Global Open House. Every single day we will have a webinar with different chapters and different members of our community. So please stay tuned. We really want this week to really be a week where you can discover what Women's March Global is working on, who we are working on this with, what our campaigns are and our focus areas are, and what our amazing, fantastic global community is up to. So please stay tuned.